Before we say what the video today talks about, I want to say that Ugandan army has really changed its name a lot of times. East African military used to be single. They used to be called KAR, KAR, King's African Rifles. That is why you find some lawyers are called KA or they are called KRE. Now, after King's African Rifle was split, the Kenya Army was called Kenya Army or Kenya Rifles. Over 60 years later, it still retains the name. But Uganda Army changed its name to Uganda National Liberation Army. Then in 1986, there was amalgamation of Uganda National Liberation Army with the National Resistance Army to form UPDF, Uganda People Defense Forces. It has changed its name several times. You have to count on your fingers to find the number. But then something is happening in the UPDF now. In the intelligence world, we don't believe in coincidences. We say that the more the coincidences, the more there is something. Suddenly, all the intake of 86 are living in drones. 1986 is the year that three formations came into one. The NRA, National Resistance Army, the UNLA, Uganda National Liberation Army, and new recruits were being joined into one force. The founders of UPDF, that is those ones that I've just mentioned, came in and they were given new force numbers. For example, Museveni's force number is RO001. RO001. I think RO means resistant officer. So you find that those people who formed the military in 1986, be they from UNLA, NRA, or even new those joining, are now living in drones. They are now living in drones. And you may have noticed that the intake of Muhuzi Kanyarugaba are taking over. Muhuzi Kanyarugaba is the CDF and the first son. Were it not for that whatever is happening in UPDF was not scripted, I would have recommended the Tonje rules. You see, in a military dictator like Uganda, everything is scripted. For my non-Kenyan viewers, General Tonje was the Kenyan CDF in the 90s. Discussing Tonje rules would require a dozen videos. But for the purpose of this recording, we will only address a few of such things, which, if copied by UPDF, would boost the morale of the soldiers. First, he introduced the rotational method. If you look at the Kenyan CDF since independence, it will tell you. Tonje was a military man. Tonje was a military man. No, Tonje was an army man. Tonje was an army man. And the first CDF was Major General Joseph Dolo from the army. Then the rank was scrapped for quite some time after the 1971 August attempted coup. It stayed vacant, whereby all service commanders were reporting directly to the commander-in-chief. Then in the mid-80s, in the mid-85 around there, Moi reintroduced the rank of CDF, but naming it, you know, when during Dolo's time it was called CDF, Chief of the Defense Forces, but Moi came and called it Chief of the General Staff. So, with Mahmoud as the Chief of General Staff, Mahmoud used to don the Air Force uniform. But the truth of the matter is, Mahmoud was an infantry officer. I cannot go into that. It's a long story. But you find that the first CDF was Major General Dolo from the army. The second CDF, renamed as CGS, was Kimeu Mulinge from the army. The third was Tonje from the army. He felt that the other services under the Ministry of Defense should also be given a chance. So he said that it should be rotational. Now, if you count the number of years that both Mulinge and Mahmoud served as the Chief of the General Staff, it is between 30 and 40. It means that if you served the military for 40 years, how many people do serve the military for 40 years? But it means that if you serve the military for 40 years, you'll only have known 2 CDFs, and both would have been from the army. So he said he started placing the rules that I'll talk about it later. What's more, in 1982, Mahmoud was in Nairobi preparing for his retirement. Were it not for the attempted coup, Mahmoud would have retired and nobody would have remembered him. But because the coup happened when he was the only general within Nairobi and he took command of whatever was happening, his retirement was extended by 15 more years. 15 more years. So, how many people who were suitable to get the rank of general were blocked by his staying there for 15 years? So Tonje set each rank a target. If you serve a certain rank for so many years, you are not allowed to serve in one rank many years. And again, you are not supposed to serve a certain rank when you are of a certain age. If you serve in one rank for so many years and you are not been promoted, you retire. Or each rank had been given, as I'll tell you, each rank was given a target. You retire at a certain age. So if you reach a certain age and you have not been promoted, you retire automatically. He said things such as, for example, this is what I'm talking out of my mind. I have to counter check, but this is just for the purpose of training, learning, sorry. For example, he would say that for you to be a colonel, you have to be 45 years and under. And for you to be a brigadier, you have to be 50. For you to be a major general, you have to be 55. And a general at 60. So that you get out and give other people a chance. Now, if you are a colonel and you're 45, you prepare to go home unless you are lucky that there is a vacancy in the brigadier section. I can give you one good example. The current CDF, the current CDF, Kanyariri, the Kenyan one, he was approaching the retirement age as per the rank of Lieutenant General. But accidents do happen. General Ogola died. And so when General Ogola died, uh, he had to. But if General Ogola would have even delayed his death by 1 more year, Kanyariri would have gone home. So that is how it was. Now back to UPDF. Those who combined NRA and UNLA, Uganda National Liberation Army in 1986 have served for over 40 years. They are all retiring at the same time. At a time when Uganda is about to have a general election. First of all, the Tonje rules are good because there is that seamless, there is that seamless handover of people. Just like in school, standard standard 8 goes to form 1, then standard 7 goes to that way. But if you are to take people of 4 years old, let's say from 1 to form 4, all of them to leave school at the same time, the secondary school will, or you'll even have new team that is composed of young people alone, young people alone, without seamless taking over. So they are all retiring at the same time. There is an age gap. Imagine in the old in the Tonja system, you hand over to somebody who is 3 or 4 years younger, at maximum is 5 years younger than you. Now, if you have served for 30 years and you are handing over to somebody who has served for 25, he will have very little to learn. I mean, catching up, he'll have to have very little. But if you are handing over to somebody whom you are 10 years older than him, you see, you have an experience of a decade that he himself can never catch up. So that is why I'm telling you that we need to, Uganda needs to have the Tonje rules. And these things happening at around when they are going to have a general election means a lot. We are going to have a reservoir of very many generals out of service at a time when there is going to be a general election. Simultaneously, those who joined together with the current CDF, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, are holding fort. Obviously, those who are in UNLA and NRA are of lower education. If you study them, you'll find that they joined the military as privates and rose through the ranks, NCOs, commissioned officers, so on and so forth, until they became generals. You have to notice that. The incoming team is composed of young cadets who joined together with CDF, and they are highly educated, the university and whatever. I have not heard of the new ones give speech, but I would expect them to be fiercely loyal to the CDF. I would expect them to be fiercely loyal to Kainerugaba. The outgoing ones are fiercely loyal to Museveni, even if you hear their speeches. One wonders, what if the voters voted for the opposition? How would the overtly pro-Museveni soldiers have to do? If you see the way they talk, they are more of NRA, because NRA was the military arm of the NRM. They, every speech ends up with the wisdom and whatever, and the first seeking or whatever of Museveni. As Museveni ages, his group of generals retire. They are being replaced by young graduates, age mates of his son. Uganda's military is so political that they have seats in parliament. What's more, they attend parliamentary meetings in military uniforms. This is definitely a message that Museveni is not thinking of handing over power in the Museveni family is not thinking of handing power in the next few decades or so. Another unique thing about Ugandan military is that when you retire honorably, you just don't go home. You are absorbed into the military reserve. The Ministry of Defense. In Kenya, we used to have a Ministry of Defense. Then it was changed to a Department of Defense in the Office of the President when Moi wanted to have a grip on the security. But with the new constitution, the defense have gone back to Ministry of Defense, MOD. But in Uganda, the, 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 the ministry is called the Ministry of Defense and Veterans Affairs. So this means that should Museveni government require soldiers quickly, let us say that those who are retired and are with technically they are saying that in Uganda you don't leave the military, you just leave the active service. Should there be need, you'll just be called in. And a lot of sweeteners are being given to their retirement age, your retirement package. They are being told that there is going to be change a law whereby if you retire honorably and you die, you are given a full military funeral similar to those who are serving of your rank. As a former police inspector, I can tell you that is sweeter news than honey itself. Uganda is the only country that I know that civilians charged, can be charged before a military court. In other countries, if you are a civilian, you can only be charged in a if in other countries a civilian can only be charged in a military court if whatever offense you are alleged to have committed, you committed together. You committed together with a military person. For example, the military wants to overthrow the government, and in the plans to overthrow the government, they involve civilians. Now, since the army man is going to be charged together with you, but in Uganda, even civilians where military are not concerned can be charged in a military court. And the funny thing is, some people were charged in a military court, and it was taken to the Supreme Court of Uganda for interpretation. And when the Supreme Court of Uganda interpreted that civilians cannot be charged, then the same government, Museveni government, went back to parliament to change the laws. And when they changed the laws, those people who had been charged in the military court in the first place were not released. They continued. Now they have stayed there for over 6 months. And then Uganda says that it is a democratic country. And then they are to be charged afresh under the new law. Anybody who has been to a law school will tell you that laws are made with the effect from the day they are signed into law. For example, taking buza, if the country says that if you take buza or any traditional alcohol, you will have committed a crime which you will be hanged or given an electric chair. Supposing there is a law that says if you take traditional alcohol, you will be placed on an electric chair. If once the president has signed that, then the following minute after the president has signed, because it is written, signed by me on 7th July, blah blah blah. So on 8th July, if you are found with that mistake, you'll. But then here is the Ugandan situation where people who were arrested in December and taken to court martial, then the Supreme Court declared that it is unconstitutional. They were not released. They still continued being detained. And then somewhere in April, the law passes that civilians can be charged in a military court. Then these people are being charged with the offenses that they committed in November last year. That is Musevenism for you. Just imagining the situation, as I've said, about Uganda is a nightmare for me right here. I cringe to imagine that I have age mates who have lived all their lives. Look at my hair. I cringe to imagine that my age mates have lived all that life in such a situation. Uh, and even that is 40 years. Museveni took power in 1985. So in the next 6 months, it will be 40 years. They have stayed for 40 years. The same number of years that Israelites spent in the desert. And even before that, my age mates lived through Idi Amin, Gaifafa. By the way, is it my imagination that the Ugandan first lady resembles Rwandese ladies? Or is it that I'm overthinking? Maybe I'm overthinking. Thank you. Have a nice day.